Hello, my name's Dr. Leonette Copeland. I'm one of the counselors working at Counseling and Psychological Services, also known as CAPS. And for these next few moments, I'm going to be talking to you about procrastination, something that we all do from time to time. Let's get started. To get this discussion started, let's define procrastination. Procrastination is simply putting something off that needs to be done now. It's a human thing, which means that we all do it. We've all put off studying, doing homework, writing a paper, cleaning, ending a relationship, Lord have mercy, setting boundaries, giving bad news. In some capacity or another, we've all waited to do something, trying to find the perfect time or trying to muster up the courage or the mental space to do something. Procrastination is putting something off. Now, why do we procrastinate? Especially knowing how it can make us even more stressed than what we already are. Well, there are many reasons as to why this happens for many folks. And sometimes it can be one thing and sometimes it can be multiple. Some of these reasons include fearing failure, avoiding conflict, not understanding the task, unpleasurable, feeling like you don't have what it takes to get it done, and having too many commitments. So let's kind of go through these a little bit. So fearing failure. If you perceive or think that you're going to get ripped to shreds when it comes to your writing style, or you feel like you're not going to show your work properly on how to do like an equation or how you came to your answer, it doesn't motivate you to do it. You're not excited to potentially fail. So that's how people can fear failure, and how really anticipating a not so good outcome can help you procrastinate. Avoiding conflict. There have been so many times that I've talked to clients, who have talked about, not feeling comfortable with, well, what if the conversation goes bad? Or, what if I really make somebody mad, or I hurt them, or I say something that, is misconstrued or what have you. Essentially, they're avoiding any type of conflict. They're trying so hard to not cross a line that, again, they're perpetuating a problem. Because there's something that has meaning for them that for whatever reason or many reasons they're not feeling comfortable to share. Not understanding the task. That's also another phenomenon that contributes to procrastination. We get in these academic settings, we're looking at our peers, we're assuming they know more than what we do, and we're feeling bad about how to ask for help because we don't understand the task, and if we ask for support, it could possibly show that we're not listening, we're not studying, make us feel maybe we're not smart enough. So many different things can pop up for somebody, and they'll choose to say, well, maybe I'll just figure it out later. Unpleasurable. Not everybody likes school. Sometimes school, while it can be something that can be deemed as necessary, is not always fun with every subject area, with every class. So that's another thing that can help folks to procrastinate. Not feeling like you have the skills to get the task done. That kind of goes around not understanding a little bit, but sometimes students don't always have the access to internet or the access to computer technology. Sometimes books can be so expensive we're not able to purchase them, in time for assignments to be done. So that's a scenario where sometimes we procrastinate because we're still needing to get some things together, some tools to complete the task, or still needing to learn some concepts. Having too many commitments. I've sometimes had a hard time saying no, and many folks sometimes have the same concerns. Sometimes when we say yes to so many things, it doesn't leave us time to really complete many of them at all. So that's another thing that can lead to procrastination. So if we dig just a little bit deeper and continue this this piece of why we're procrastinating, we know that when something's in front of us and we're anticipating that it's not going to be fun, we may not do well, we're just not in the right mental space, it can cause us to look for a distraction. All right. Any type of distraction that we're able to find to kind of sidetrack us and make us pause on the current task at hand brings about some relief from those uncomfortable feelings that I just listed. Therefore, it helps create a cycle that makes it easy for us to continue to procrastinate. Because as soon as you start feeling those, oh my gosh, what happens if? And then you say, oh, well, let me just listen to some music, or let me watch this show that makes me laugh. While you are trying to care for yourself in that moment, it's a form of avoidance that doesn't actually play out in your favor. This leaves us with less time. As we put off something we need to do that may or may not be exciting for us at the time, we end up finding that when we finally do get to doing it, we're trying to cram, we're trying to rush. And sometimes it can be flowing for us, with putting out a product, and then sometimes it just leaves us really stuck. But in the end, it creates more stress than what we might be needing at that time when we wait. All right, and to illustrate this a little bit further, this is not a set in stone figure or example. I'm just trying to give an idea of, kind of the cycle that one can engage in, at least for sure what I've seen with many of my clients. So we'll talk about the task at hand, how it made them feel, and then regarding that feeling or in reaction to that feeling, they're usually avoiding. They're like, okay, well, let me find something else to do. They're engaging in that thing, which could end up taking up their whole day or a few days or what have you. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I have even less time than what I had before. And then they start beating themselves up. They start saying negative things like, why did I do this? I always do this. I'm old enough. I'm going to let everybody down. I'm this, I'm that. And it really gets to be unhelpful because it moves them to even further avoid even more. So this is just an idea of how one can get into a cycle, but the good thing is that cycles can be broken. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So when we're discussing or thinking about how we could procrastinate less, it's obvious that improved time management skills always helps folks to manage their time better and get tasks done easier or sooner than what they normally would. It's also important to note that asking for help when we're needing support or clarity can also help us procrastinate less. If we're thinking about, remember what I said earlier, if we're thinking about people choosing to not work on something now because feeling like they don't have the necessary skills or feel like they lack understanding. When you're pulling in for folks to help support you by saying, hey, do you know how to do this? Oh, you do. Did you understand that? Oh, you do. Okay, can you share that with me? It's kind of giving you like a roadmap to success. One particular thing that I don't know if we always consider is the power of therapy. Therapy is a resource that can help you develop the emotional management skills that are necessary to break that cycle that we were just talking about. Through counseling, you're able to learn how to tolerate the associated negative emotions that would push you from tackling a task at that moment. Remember, we tend to procrastinate when we're feeling something that doesn't feel good about what we have to do. We tell ourselves we'll do it later, or a million different other things that falls into the world of avoidance. Therapy can help us understand why we avoid and how we can push through feeling something uncomfortable so that we stop avoiding. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about how CBT can help with decreasing procrastination. This will be a very surface level example It's not going to dig too deep, but I'm just trying to give an idea of something one could do in therapy or with their clinician to help tackle procrastination. Our staff's very large at CAPS, and many folks work from different theoretical orientations. So there are many different ways that we could go about this. But like I said, we're going to focus on CBT. CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Theory or Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. And essentially, it's just looking at how we think about something, how that makes us feel, and in turn causes us to behave a certain way. So if we're trying to change an outcome or behavior, we're going to spend a little bit more time being aware of our thoughts and our emotions in response to a scenario, a situation, or an event. And for this, it's procrastination. A technique that we could use in CBT is really looking at the ABCs. So we'll talk about that on the next slide. One, two, three. Do, re, mi, A, B, C. One, two, three. Oops, sorry. The song was getting good. All right, let's get into these ABCs. A stands for activating event, B stands for the beliefs, and C stands for the consequences. So that activating event, that's that situation, that's that thing that we're not excited about, and therefore what we're probably going to be avoiding. And why are we avoiding it? Because we're having beliefs about it, right? We're thinking many different things. Some of that could be I'm not going to do well, I'm going to fail, the professor won't think highly of me if my work is anything less than PhD level, if you're on an undergraduate level. There are many different things that we tell ourselves. I'm not ready for that conversation, I'm just not prepared for, I don't have the skills to do. The list goes on and on. The consequence of that, it will make us do or feel something. You know, when we're thinking that we're not capable, we're lacking something, that doesn't make us feel good. That doesn't run us towards that situation. It makes us avoid. And so we want to be aware of these chain of events so that we can disrupt them. So when we have that situation, by looking more into these ABCs through cognitive behavioral theory, we'll say, okay, wait, now that we're aware of these thoughts that we're having, is there any way we can challenge those thoughts to not be 100% true? Are you 100% sure that you're going to fail? 100% sure you're going to fail? And usually it's like, no, I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like I might. All right, well, if you might fail, you might also succeed. And so we'd have to see, how could we challenge and help ourselves to have thoughts that could also go in our favor, thoughts that could also go in a positive direction. And then the consequence of that would probably allow us to procrastinate less. If we think that we could be successful, if we give ourselves an opportunity to say, you know what, I might not do as bad as on this as what I think, that might help us say, okay, well, let me sit in front of this. Let me focus in on this right quick. That's helping us have a different outcome than what we were before, and it's helping us to avoid less, i.e., procrastinate less. Another piece to this that I wanted to briefly mention is just how social anxiety and procrastination can play against one another. So many folks that experience some social anxiety will speak to trying to find the right time to say something, or never feeling like there's a right time, and always being uncomfortable, anticipating that when they speak it will somehow cause them to be a burden, or to bother someone else, to get in the way of someone else, or to not be viewed as smart, or not be viewed as this or that. And so therefore they'll tend to avoid feeling that, they'll avoid having necessary conversations. It's important that we would need to challenge ourselves to understand that later does not always mean better. Also, that we don't actually know how someone else will perceive what we have to say. So again, it may not be fair to ourselves and them to assume that they'll think the worst of us. We have to consider that they may be okay with us interrupting them. Maybe they're needing a break for themselves, or at least knowing what we might need help with. If they're not able to help us at the current moment, they can plan to help us later. Now, I don't know who they are. I have never been personally introduced to they, but they always say practice makes perfect. And that's kind of anything with therapy, right? When you're in therapy, what you're going over in session is so that you can carry it out of session, and in between sessions work on practice that thing. And the same with what we just kind of went over, right? When we're talking about ways that we could examine and think more through our thoughts, be aware more of our feelings and how those feelings cause us to behave, when we do that on a continual basis, you're giving yourself more power to do something different. You're giving yourself more power to procrastinate less. You have what it takes to develop these skills because you got this. I've really enjoyed our time together, and I know it's coming to a close. I wanted to throw these helpful options, what I think would be helpful options to also consider as we're trying to procrastinate less, which like setting phone alarms, timers, creating a schedule that rewards you for staying on task, finding ways to put some positive messaging, some positive affirmations around your space that's encouraging you, things that are real, right? That say, hey, I know you don't feel like doing this, but just keep pushing. Those are examples of some positive messages and of encouragement. Changing the scenery, maybe sometimes doing your work at a park, or doing your work on the beach, or at a restaurant that you enjoy going to. Being aware of the different resources around you, or being aware of the campus resources. There are a ton of different tutoring folks on campus, the writing lab. There are different things that we can access even virtually to help us be successful. Also, leaning into your support system, your social support system, letting your friends and family, encourage you by reminding you to do something that's important, inquiring if you've completed a task, or knowing that you need to study and saying, you know what, I'm not going to invite you to this thing because I don't want to, give you an option to do something other than what you need to be. These are all different helpful ways to help us procrastinate less. And there are many other things that's not on this slide, but just wanted to name a few. And of course, I gotta let you know about our services. So at CAPS, we offer many different services, as you see on the right hand side, or on the right hand side: individual, couples, group counseling, after hours assistance, crisis management, consultations, workshops. We do various mental health trainings and provide different mental health screenings. Students that are looking to get connected would just need to call us at 561-297-3540, and you will have the opportunity to set up your first appointment. We also have different social media pages, so please follow us on Instagram at FAU_CAPS. We have a Facebook page, and we also have a YouTube channel, which can be found on the YouTube site if you search FAU Counseling and Psychological Services. It was certainly a pleasure having this time with you. Thank you so much for your attention. If you want, please connect with us. We'd love to learn how we could support you and to help you on your journey of self-growth. I have the number listed again at the bottom: 561-297-3540. Please use it because we want to be there for you. Talk with you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Bye.